To Blast Guys Reviews. In this review, we're going to be taking a look at some bonus content from my G.I. Joe miniseries for the G.I. Joe Haslab Sky Striker. Unfortunately, with a heavy heart, this is not going to be a good bonus content video. Being part of a community, a very small community of G.I. Joe collectors that went ahead and backed the Sky Striker Haslab and invested in what we believe to be our dream project, we are now in a group together plagued with pretty much the same issue. You ask yourself, what is that issue? Well, if you watch my mini-series in part 6, we definitely identified an issue with the front landing gear. It is a sagging problem, and as time goes on, as I have this, gravity is weighing this heavy hammer on my Sky Striker. As you can see, my Sky Striker is mounted on its stand, and my drooping problem is compounding and getting worse. When I first did it, it was pretty much like just a little bit towards the back. Now my front armature here is now drooping also. So as my excitement fades away from actually having this Sky Striker in hand after such a long wait, and now it's being replaced with frustration and some anger setting in. Now we all know Hasbro is not the greatest on quality control of their toys, especially their Star Wars vintage collection figures and on some of the G.I. Joe retro figures with the bad knees. But unfortunately, we do have this problem, and unfortunately I don't have a fix, but I think I identified the main issue, and I think there may be a misconception going around the G.I. Joe community about the issue and maybe a potential fix. So let me go ahead and show you what I've discovered, and I'll let you guys determine what's best for you. And all this video is an information video to try to share information between all of us, our very elite community of Sky Striker collectors. So in the community, it's been going around, and I do appreciate everybody, and I mean no disrespect to everybody. I thank you very much for sharing your information, your potential fixes. I think that's fantastic, and again, I thank you. And when I show you this part, I don't want to disrespect anybody's opinion or anybody else's content. So with that being said, down here, to actually identify our problem, we got to look at inside the cockpit. We got to remove the back seat, and we're going to look at that armature here in the back. First, we're going to take a look at going around the community right now about that. See that little gray piece there? It's like sticking up at an angle right there. So if you pull on that actually piece, if you can see down inside there, so look at the base of that shaft, if I will. There's like a little T-bar that it goes. Basically, that's what's holding the landing gear to go up and down. That's its mechanism. So that's all that is. So there's a conception going on to put a rubber band around that, and then we're going to stretch the rubber band down around this round cylinder here on the bottom of the Sky Striker where the back seat goes. That's a very small space for one. Second of all, that's a different height. You see that little step right there? Let me see if I get my finger in there. Right there's a step there. So that's a step up. So that's not even a direct shot. You need a rubber band to go straight. I'm not sure how that even worked out, but apparently it did on some of the videos I've watched. Once again, I appreciate everybody's effort. Thank you so much. I don't believe that's the problem. The problem is the entire mechanism. So that piece is pretty much a master and slave system, in my opinion here. What I mean by that is this piece is the slave, and this armature here, this mechanism, is the master. Watch. I'm not even touching that. It's just black U piece. This mechanism here is what controls that entire piece. So to fix that, I mean, I can show you in the back here in a second, but in a generic fix, you'd have to hook that and pull that tight somewhere to wear it in the cockpit. Now, why? Here's the problem. Even with the rubber band theory, it's like, okay, well, you got to put your seat in there. That's a very small space. And you have to put the peg in. It sits around that. Not only that, it's taken away from your playability for your ejection seat blast effects. That actual round base piece sits all the way down. With that rubber band in there, if that even worked, would be in the way. You'd have to remove that every time you wanted to do that effect. Pulling on that armature piece is our problem. And that's deep inside the Sky Striker. So let me go ahead and see if I can turn this thing sideways. Here. And you can see how bad the drooping is getting, on mine at least. Back here, the tail fin. Let me try to set this camera up so I can show you something. Okay, so here we go. The best I think I can get here. So let's point out two target areas to watch. Here's our grinding gear, and here's our tail hook. I think it's happening here. That mechanism inside. There's nothing under here. When you slide this, there should be a clip there that captures this piece. Because if I push in on that, that shuts and stays shut right there. But watch what happens when I let go. And I'm pushing in on it. Watch how I let go of it. See it come back at me? But it comes back to a point where it's just, it droops. So it needs to have a catch there. Other than that, fixing this without some kind of heavy modification of this tail hook would be hooking that inner piece to something around the seats or something like that, which is undesirable in my opinion. That's our problem. Now that strictly is my opinion. I could be wrong. It could be the rubber band. It could be the issue fix. I don't know. But I think that is an issue. Even at first I thought maybe if you drop this down, is that a locking position? It doesn't help. I don't know what that's for. It's like maybe it's just a play feature. But they need to figure out some kind of locking mechanism for the landing gear, and they don't have that. There's going to be literally no good fix to this. Does that anger me? Yes, very much. Being part of a community is great of elite collectors that own these. These are going to only gain in value, in my opinion, because there's only so many manufactured to, what is it, a little over 16,000, I think, of these things of collectors that have them. Most collectors have more than one, so it's not necessarily even 16,000 plus people. It's just 16,000. I don't remember the exact number of these things even exist. So having one in your collection is definitely a privilege in my opinion, but we are plagued with issue. With this is a bad issue. The other issues, like the decals and stuff like that, is minor compared to this. And that fuel tank thing is irritating too. I can't display my Sky Striker on a stand without a fuel tank. And yes, we technically have those little ones. Those are considered, again, up to your imagination. There's technically fuel tanks, but you can use them as bombs if you want in your playability, in your world building, which is perfectly fine. It's your toy, your imagination. That's great. To use your imagination, that's what we need more of, especially on our little collectors. My frustration is ridiculous right now. I just don't know what to say on how I feel besides frustration and anger. Now, I'm not like full-blown, like crazy angry. I'm just angry because, I had high expectations for this. In my personal belief, the Haslab is a premium toy. It should be the best of the best with no issues, no major mechanical issues, in my opinion, or even electrical issues if that would apply. But the old sticker issue, okay, I get it. No one's perfect, but I just don't see if someone sat down on a QC table and did not see that. I mean, I discovered that right out the box. It's not like it just happened every time. Now, it's worsening every time, but it's there. It's noticeable, and any normal quality control, QA, quality assurance technician, if any Hasbro has, would have caught that. Especially looking at 16,000 of these things, if they do, or if they sample their QC. because obviously that's cost that they have to pay for. But maybe they have no quality control. Maybe that's the issue. Maybe they rely on the engineering. Okay, well, here it is, and that's their last line of defense. But okay, so I was letting you guys know that watch out, because this seems to be worsening as it sits over time. One thing I also want to mention too is, like, I have several jets. I'm gonna use I have a couple 25th anniversary Rattlers. Now, I used to think the stands were the fix for this, because, again, going back to the evil head of gravity, like when I had my my Rattlers sitting on my display stand, and it sat there for like a long period of time. And then one day I come by and I noticed that the front end was like laying down onto the stand, and here, for no reason, good reason, no one's touched it for, as long as it's been sitting there. The power mechanism is just broken off the wheel. So basically what happened was the wheels, the landing gear cannot sustain the weight of the vehicle for extended periods of time. So that's why I thought, wow, we got a stand, which is fantastic. Won't have to worry about that problem. But I don't even know if that's going to be a problem with the Sky Striker. So if you don't leave it on the stand and you put the wheels out and you display it that way, is that just going to collapse anyway? So I'm not sure, obviously, because that would have to be a long period test. Put it down, let it sit for months or a year and see how gravity affects the overall landing gear as a whole as sitting on a desk. But those are some of the issues I have with my Sky Striker. I haven't, because of that, I haven't been able to decide what labels I wanted to put on my Sky Striker. But we're going to move on from this, and I'm going to show you some issues I have for labeling for the artillery cart and the fuel cart. So we have the instruction sheet for the utility and fuel cart. So I'm just so frustrated sometimes. I just don't know what to say, especially with Hasbro. So we're going to start out with the fuel cart. So right off the bat, you can actually notice that the fuel cart is not anywhere correct for the overall diagram. It actually shows a mechanism on both sides. There's no mechanism on both sides. So on this side here, the 5 fits okay, and then we have that piece. They kind of show it up at the top, and here we have this square piece here. The problem is with this multi-layer stuff, if you try to put labels over layers like this, your stickers are going to peel off they're not going to last as long as you would hope. So you want to definitely try to stay away from overlapping surfaces. Like you wouldn't want to put a sticker across here or from here to here. So I had to put it down on a lower section. The caution works out, the flammable works out, and the star works out, and the cylinder. So that side is okay. So, but on this side, issues that I come across for me was the flammable is okay, the caution is okay, but then they give us an extra one of these, and there's nothing there. So, I went ahead and just applied that. Now I have no surface. I could have put it to the top here, but because there's no square, but I just wanted it to be universal on both sides, so that I just utilized that sticker to fill in a gap, because this is just a plain piece of gray plastic. I need some color. Something that makes sense. And you may have noticed here, I think this is, in my opinion, should be swapped. You have the 3 triangles and a star. And again, why is that? Because I want the same unison fill from both sides. So if I put the star here on the bottom, it's in the same position as the other one on the other side, and I put the triangles at the top. But here in the instructions, they have it reversed. So I think it looks better that way. And then we have the 5 right there. You can see the star right there on the lower part, and that's on the lower part. Now that's my perspective. But overall, I don't know why they gave us a second sticker here versus not having anything. We need some color, some depth. I mean, there's no stickers for the top, the front, the back or anything. And of course, you can add as you see fit. Now, it's even a little worse for the artillery cart here. As you can see, there's no stickers for the top piece. I'm going to go ahead and remove that so we can take a in-depth look at this piece. Because there's definitely issues here. For labeling, at least, in my opinion. I'm trying to do the best I can at holding everything. So on this side, one of the issues we have is all these little details. Which I'm not knocking the details. Here and here, here, that's great. We want that detailing. But it definitely plagues you if they're coming and saying, okay, put this sticker here. And like we have this little piece here on the bottom. Okay, they want you to put the sticker in the center. But then at the bottom, it overlaps this big little notch there. And then it goes over top that little round plastic piece there. So that gives you, that's going to end up being bad for your decals. So I went ahead and pushed mine to the back. Had just enough space. I think I got just a little bit of the clear on the little dot. And the same thing for the United States. They want it in the center. But you can't, it doesn't fit in the center because of that round big piece right here. So staying with the aesthetics, I pushed it to the back and the United States to the back. So it kind of stayed unison for the most part. Now again, you can see that this doesn't match the overall toy. Because you have the piece here, that's the cover. Then you have the base, which is right here. And allegedly there's a piece that goes straight up. Right there. We don't have that. We don't have that piece. And that's supposed to go on that piece that's not even on the drawing. Because this piece is that piece, and that's missing. Because it automatically droops down here. So I had to go ahead and put the triangle right there on just adjacent to where you say to put it. And then also here, we have this American flag sticker with some numbers. It's supposed to go here. There's no way that's fitting in there. So it's going to be over that hook and over that notch, and it's just not going to stay. It's not going to work out. I know this from experience. If you are a long-time collector and from having stuff, putting labels on multiple toys, vehicles, you know that becomes a problem, especially with rounded missiles and stuff like that. So what I had to do is put it on the other side, which I'll show you in a second. And then so you have the little number 9 on the back. So I put that on, there's no problem there. So there's where I put my American flag at, right there. Goes on the drawing, there's nothing that goes there for that reason. And it kind of gave you, I have to have my American flag on my G.I.JOE stuff. Same issues here with kind of these two stickers. And then on this side, instead of the back, they want the number 9 on the front right there. And then we have the caution in the rear sticker. If I can get it in camera. See that? So, I had to move my decals around because of surface area. So why is this important? It's important because, like, as a recommendation to everybody, and again, you can do what you want with your toys, but laying these stickers over these surface areas is not a great idea. Of course, please, put your toy as you want. Enjoy it. It's your money. You paid for it. But I'm just creating some informational video recommendations, and you don't have to listen to anything I say. It's not a big deal. But that's what I've done in my perspective. So I hope you guys enjoyed this information for what it's worth. I mean, it's not good information. It's obviously issues, but at least we have the knowledge and sharing of information out there and potential fix. So I don't have a potential fix for the Sky Striker, you know, as a whole. So I'm not willing to be heavily modifying a over $200 toy. I shouldn't have to. So if anything would arise on a good fix or something from Hasbro, I'll definitely make a video letting you guys know. If you probably will hear if you're an owner of a Sky Striker, but it is what it is, I guess. Alright guys, so I got for you on this bonus content. Hope this information helps. Like I always say, thanks for watching. Please consider like, sharing, and subscribing to my videos. I really appreciate that. And we'll see you in our next review.